Greetings and welcome back to Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Today we're going to dive deep into some of the most critical issues facing California right now. Issues that are not only affecting our state, but have the potential to reshape the future for all of us. First, we'll be discussing the ongoing illegal immigration crisis here in the United States. We'll touch on Doge and the corruption the left doesn't want you to see, and we'll also examine the potential dangers of the new Real ID system being rolled out. Not to mention, we'll explore the climate change, fraud, and taxation problems here in California, and of course, the intentional crime wave sweeping the state, along with what many believe is a deliberate attempt to destroy California and rebuild it in someone else's image. We'll discuss all that, and we'll cap it off with a deep dive into the dangerous bills being pushed by the Democrats that threaten the safety of our children. All of this coming up next on Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Let's go.
There is no fight that is more critical right now than on immigration. Understanding due process is, of course, critical in this moment. Due process is a very important piece of how we run our society, obviously. The rights secured by the Fifth Amendment are very important. The Fifth Amendment to the Constitution are being proclaimed daily by the left, those rights are. So let's read this amendment together. No person shall be held to answer for a capital or otherwise infamous crime unless on a presentment or indictment of a grand jury, except in cases arising in the land or naval forces or in the militia, when in actual service in time of war or public danger. Nor shall any person be subject for the same offense to be twice put in jeopardy of life or limb, nor shall be compelled in any criminal case to be a witness against himself, nor be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. Nor shall private property be taken for public use without just compensation. I want to read the whole thing there so you have it all laid out for you. And as you heard all of that in a speak from long ago, nowhere in there did you hear a word about immigration and deportation. You can also guarantee that when the Constitution was amended by the Bill of Rights, in no early politician's wildest dreams did they ever imagine a nation as corrupted as this one has become 250 years later, where millions and millions of people would be treasonously imported into a country that had become far wealthier than it was in the past, and the due process clause would be manipulated to help keep them here by demanding, a trial for every single person that is brought into the country illegally. People that are obviously illegal all have to go through some sort of due process to leave, other than determining that they're not here legally. Nobody would have ever imagined it would have gotten this bad, and yet that's exactly what we are seeing.
So let's kick off things with something that's been on the minds of many: illegal immigration. It's almost unbelievable when you really think about it. Illegal aliens have the audacity to enter our country without permission, and somehow we're supposed to say, just let them stay. It's kind of like someone breaking into your home, setting up shop in your living room, and then you can't even ask them to leave. This is the kind of nonsense we're dealing with. This is the kind of nonsense the left is pushing. It's clear that liberals are doing everything they can to protect illegal immigrants, but it's not because they care about these people. No, it's because they are driven by numbers. More people in this country equals more potential voters who keep them in power. And don't be fooled. Powerful elites, they benefit from this too. They use undocumented people as cheap labor, while we pay the price. And let's not forget, taxpayers are footing the bill for the court hearings and the other costs of dealing with these people who should not even be here. It's about time we ask, why are we allowing this to continue? When you are illegally here, you're not a part of the system. When you are illegally here, you don't really exist. And that's another problem. When someone who's undocumented commits a crime, there's almost no chance they'll ever be found. This is the scam the left is playing on the American people. What they're doing is pushing on your emotions to make you feel guilty for people who are literally breaking the law. If you want to come to America, like anyone else, go through the legal process. If you want to enter my house, ask for permission. Follow the rules. That's how it works. Well, isn't it?
Do you believe that every immigrant here is the same? You can't believe that because they're not. They're not.
I do.
There's some good, there's some bad. There's some criminals, they're not.
I believe everybody who's here illegally is here illegally. Not all are violent, but all are here illegally.
How do you differentiate if nobody gets a hearing, if you don't have due process? How do you distinguish one from the other?
Well,
what you're saying is every person that's here in this country is a criminal, is a gang member, should be thrown in jail.
Every person who's here illegally, every person who is here illegally is in fact a criminal. Some of them do come here and commit violent crimes and still aren't deported.
If you don't have a process?
Well, some have records and some don't.
But they still have constitutional rights.
They're all going away.
They still have constitutional rights.
So here's the deal. We've let 20 million something people into the country illegally. And now what a lot of folks want to do is use the court system to try to stop as much as possible the rapid deportation of illegal aliens from the country. What the president said in the interview was very clear. He was unsure on these deportation cases because of the unusual circumstances, but he was going to defer to his brilliant lawyers and said, quote, "We are going to follow what the Supreme Court says." There is no outrage here that's worth
circumstances?
But we have been invaded by millions upon millions of people, and he was elected to get them out. He was elected to get them out. And what some people are proposing is a backlog system that will never allow us to go to get them out.
Illegal.
It's simple. Illegal means illegal. Why is that so hard to understand? The fact that some people are trying to make this confusing is a part of the strategy, obviously. They want people here illegally while we, the people, pay for it. They're not really paying for it. The real issue is not just illegal immigration, but the fact that the media and the political elite are deliberately confusing the public while the middle class is the one who suffers.
We have been invaded by millions upon millions of people, and he was elected to get them out. He was elected to get them out. And what some people are proposing is a backlog system that will never allow us to go to get them out.
You're describing illegal immigration, which has been around for a long time, as an invasion, which is fine for you if you want to do that. But why is that unusual that there's a process to go through to deport people? I mean, that's actually just how the system works.
Do you know how long it takes for this process, this paperwork to get people out? The guy that we've all been weeping and gnashing teeth over, the guy we sent to El Salvador, was in the country 14 years illegally.
But what about what
We've got millions of people who have gamed this system, and now we're going to give
Either
it
you
some more.
believe in the Constitution or you don't.
I believe in the sovereignty of the United States, or you don't.
But
So you don't believe
do
in
you
the
believe in the
I
Constitution?
believe in the sovereignty of the United States, and I believe we've been
And you don't believe that Donald
Can I
Trump
just ask a
should
question?
abide by the Constitution?
Just a serious question.
Of course I do. And of course I believe.
Do you believe that he does?
And I believe that he will follow, just as he said, what the Supreme Court says. But the policy debate is worth having.
From the very beginning,
millions upon millions of people are here, and they will not leave, and he has to get them out.
Now let's shift gears a little bit here. Let's talk about something else. Something else we're all feeling here in California, at least, the real ID. A lot of people don't fully understand what this real ID means. I don't think it's about security. I think it's about control. And let me tell you, this system is about to strip away freedoms that you didn't even realize you had. What I predict is something far more sinister that is actually going to come into play here. But what's even crazier is that the people are lining up in droves for the real ID, and they don't even fully understand the potential consequences. Take a moment to think about it. When we give up personal information for supposed convenience, what's really being done behind the scenes? Now, this is not me trying to impose a scare tactic. This is simply about awareness. This is simply about saying, stay vigilant. As we move into this new system, be alert when they start stripping away your rights. If they start stripping away your rights, be alert.
Happening tomorrow. You will need a Real ID compliant license to board a domestic flight or enter a federal building. Officials are warning people to beware of scammers looking to take advantage of those who are trying to get ahead of tomorrow's deadline. In some cases, fraudsters reach out to people pretending to be with the Department of Motor Vehicles and ask for personal information.
I've seen scams via text messaging, emails, even malicious websites. The government isn't going to send you a text message. They're not going to email you about it.
Do not respond to unsolicited messages or social media posts that claim to provide a Real ID application. To get a Real ID, you need to go through your state's driver's license commission. We have posted more information on 6abc.com.
Dee here. She's security at the DMV here in Culver City. Dee, you're holding this all down.
Holding it down. This is what I do. I hold it down. I do crowd control. Everybody's getting their Real ID, and I just like to keep everybody in line to be able to get in to get their Real ID.
So is everyone showing up with what they need?
Yes, ma'am, with a birth certificate and 2 proofs of residency. Get your Real ID at the DMV.
Did you really just rhyme?
The Real ID, May the 7th, will be implemented, okay, nationwide. Hopefully we understand what that is. I know many of us already got it, okay, which is cool, but we must understand what is going on according to prophecy, okay, because now we have went from a state issued ID to a federal, international, global ID. We are now global citizens. And with this, they can attach everything about you, your medical, your financial. Okay, now you're going to be able to be X out the society, even the internet, if you're not going along with their medical plan. Okay, because in the next pandemic, everything is going digital soon. Y'all understand that? Just know that you are in the tribulation, but entering the great part of the tribulation in this next event.
So let me be clear. You make your own decision. Make your own decision when it comes to the Real ID. Most of us will probably get it. And I understand that. I'm just saying, stay aware. Because if and when they start taking away your freedoms, they rarely ever give them back. Now, we'll move away from that. Let's get back to California just in general and the ongoing disaster. We've all seen skyrocketing gas prices, and what's the response from Gavin Newsom and his team? They keep pushing this climate change agenda. A climate change agenda that's only lining the pockets of the rich and powerful while taxing the middle class to death. So the question is, how are the gas tax and the rising prices connected to this? Well, for one, it's clear that the taxes are going nowhere except into the hands of the corrupt elite.
Democrats are doubling down on their war with your wallet at the gas pumps. Thanks to a series of gas taxes and regulations, your California gas prices could rise another 90 cents this year. While 83% of California voters think gas prices are already too high, radical environmentalist Democrats shot down my bill to repeal Gavin Newsom's 65-cent gas price hike. Their plan is simple: raise gas prices so high that everyone in California is forced into an EV, whether you want one or not. This is unfair and unrealistic. We won't stop fighting until we bring these gas prices down and put an end to these out-of-touch policies. Follow me for all things California.
So we're paying high taxes. There's no infrastructure improvement. There are no clean streets. There's crime. There's homelessness. There's trash everywhere. So where is all the money going?
Some politicians really trust the statistics on crime, and they think crime hasn't gone up. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, we tried it their way. What happened? We got a massive crime wave in California over the past 8 to 10 years, while the rest of the country has seen crime either steady or decline. The reason why the voters know that crime is a problem is they see it with their own eye. Now everything is under lock and key. And the politicians say, no, crime's not up. Oh, no, we're all safe. The public knows that they're lying. We have had a record amount of property crime. We are paying the price. All of us are victims of property crime because what happens when there is a smash and grab or a massive amount of property theft and retail theft is that the costs are now passed on to you and me as a consumer. I believe that the reason why we have so many problems, whether it's the high cost of living, crime wave, epic levels of homelessness, failing schools, is all because our political system is completely out of touch with the struggles of average Californians. And so we're not going to get better results on the issues we care about that are hurting us until we fundamentally reform and fix our broken political system. That means transparency, it means accountability, it means cleaning up the corruption, and it means more political leadership that brings us together around the consensus, common sense ideas that I think a lot of Californians think we need to implement.
The answer is clear, at least to me. Someone is laundering this money, either to their friends or to projects that don't serve the public interest. We need transparency here in California. To be honest, I think we need Elon Musk and Doge here to expose where all the money is really going. Check this out.
We've actually found there's a lot of people who are federal government employees, they're active employees who nonetheless applied for and have received unemployment insurance.
While they're federal employees?
Yes.
Wow.
And this appears to be at least 100,000 people.
Wow.
Thankfully, there is one person still fighting against this corruption by the name of Kevin Kiley. But, of course, what happens? He's attacked by Newsom and others for trying to stop this madness. Newsom says he's trying to help us, but yet he attacks the people who are actually fighting for us. It's almost laughable if it wasn't so dangerous. Check this out.
In response, Kiley posted on X, "We will promptly reverse Newsom's insane mandate in the new year." And that's just what he worked to do.
Today's action really just restores common sense and says that you should be able to drive the car of your choice, and it passed with bipartisan support.
Kiley spoke with ABC 10 on Thursday, the day a majority of U.S. representatives, 200 Republicans and 35 Democrats, voted to withdraw one of those waivers. The day before, the House had already voted to withdraw the other two. Kiley is among the representatives who introduced the resolutions that, using something called the Congressional Review Act, would withdraw the waivers, though they still need the approval of the Senate.
I believe it'll pass in the Senate.
In response to the votes, Governor Newsom said, in part, Trump Republicans are hell-bent on making California smoggy again. Clean air didn't used to be political.
Finally, let's talk about the fight to protect our children.
All right, listen to this. California lawmakers just blocked a push to make it a felony to buy sex from 16 and 17-year-old minors. Why do they have to even do that? How is that not a felony already? Well, it's California. And Assembly Majority Whip Democrat Mark Gonzalez actually defended the move this way.
What's embarrassing, what's offensive, is when you stand on this floor and you call yourself gay, but yet you vote down the same civil rights for gay people every single day. That is an embarrassment. That is something to be ashamed for. And my mama raised me, don't pretend to be who you don't intend to be. And that's what we are hearing from this other side.
I want to respond to that for a moment. It is sickening that some California Democrats and radical activists are attacking Assemblyman Carl DeMaio, who's a gay Republican, and who Gonzalez was referring to there, as some sort of traitor to gay civil rights because he supports punishing sexual abusers of children with felony charges. How dare they? Equating purchasing 16 and 17-year-old minors for sex with gay rights is repugnant. It's conflation. It's unacceptable. You sometimes have to wonder if these depraved people are trying to vindicate some of the ugliest stereotypes out there. Ferociously opposing laws that would strengthen protections against the sexual exploitation of minors is indefensible. Broadly speaking, it might strike some observers as less of a valid policy view here and more of a confession of sorts. If this is how some extremists want to twist and distort and redefine gay rights, count me out. Not in my name. And I know I'm not alone. In fact, joining me now is California State Assemblyman Carl DeMaio. Carl, it's good to see you, and I've just been at a loss for words about this story all week long. You've been fighting the good fight with your Republican colleagues and some Democrats as well, but just got blown away in the vote, 55-21. And the fact that they're defending this and trying to pretend like it's a gay rights issue, I'm sick. I feel sick.
Oh, you should be sick. You should be outraged. And we should be very worried about these 16 and 17-year-old minor boys and girls who will continue to be trafficked for sex with no penalty for their abusers. We'll have more victims. This is nothing more than a clear signal in California by the politicians, by the Democrat politicians, that it is open season on 16 and 17-year-old girls and boys. And let me just respond to Mark Gonzalez. How dare you invoke the name of the gay community and put this extremist, deviant policy out there and use them as window dressing? No. The rank and file gays do not think it's appropriate for an adult male to buy a 16 or 17-year-old boy for sexual pleasure. They do not agree with that. It is repugnant, it is embarrassing, and it needs to stop. And I actually think Mr. Gonzalez ought to either apologize to the gay community or he needs to resign his post.
Why is it, some viewers might be wondering, that you guys are needing to do this at all? How is it that buying children for sex is not a felony in California?
We are the only state where you can purchase a boy or a girl age 16 or 17 with literally no threat of prosecution. And that is because Democrats over the past several years have been very successful in advancing deviant laws. In 2020, the Democrats in the legislature and Governor Gavin Newsom signed into law SB 145, which basically allows an adult male to molest a child as young as 14 and avoid mandatory sex offender registry. That was 2020. Then in 2022, they legalized loitering for the purpose of prostitution, and they allowed these crimes, purchasing 16 and 17-year-olds for sex, not to be a felony, not to be prosecutable. And so these are extreme laws that they've been putting on the books for the last 5, 6, 7 years. And we are the only state in the union where this is happening. And make no mistake about it, they're doing it by saying it's pro-gay, pro-LGBT. And again, that's just shameful that they're somehow associating the gay community with the need to have sex with underage minors. It is offensive, it is wrong, and it needs to be reversed.
Yeah, child prostitution, it's exploitation, it's abuse, it's crime. And apparently they need to get that memo. They watered down and gutted the language in the vote that I mentioned before, but they said that maybe they'll revisit this down the line. They intend to do something about it later. What about that?
No, they said we need time to study it. I'm sorry, but if you need to study whether it's right or wrong to buy a minor child at 16 or 17 for sex, again, you're unfit for office. This is a no-brainer. We're the only state in the union where this nonsense is tolerated, where these children are being trafficked with no legal protections. No studying. Just get the damn law changed or resign your post. And I'm hearing from Democrats today across the state of California that they are not going to vote Democrat in the upcoming election. I think that we're going to break the Democrat supermajority in Sacramento, in California, over this one singular vote, because it is that extreme, it is that wrong.
Yeah, and that kind of madness, that evil madness is what it is, can only happen in a one-party rule state like yours, and I hope it does get reversed. Carl DeMaio, thank you.
It is unimaginable that we even have to fight to keep our kids safe from sexual predators, but this is the reality here in California. We have bills being passed right here that strip away parental rights and hand control over to the government. Folks, these bills are dangerous, and they're being pushed under the radar by people in power who think they know what's best for your child. Or they just want to take control of your child. And of course, the media won't talk about this. The media won't give a voice to the parents. The media won't give a voice to the activists that are trying to actually protect our kids.
Good morning to you, Mr. DeMaio. How you doing?
Better than these 16 and 17-year-old girls and boys who've literally been led on the streets to be sold for sex by California Democrats. This is just insane. And I have no idea why the media isn't making a bigger deal of this vote.
All right, we're going to get there. But first, just if you could really quickly broad stroke both bills. It sounds very simple, but let's just start there. Say what the goal was, and then we'll go from there.
So several years ago, California Democrats, when they were on their coddle the criminal spree, passed a number of bad bills like Prop 47, which voters just repealed in the November election. But one of the bills that they passed allowed loitering for the purpose of prostitution to be legalized. It took away the ability of police and prosecutors to go onto the streets, find these sex workers, and get them off the streets by detaining them for loitering. If you can't detain them for loitering, you can't then break the hold that the trafficker has on these people. We're not going after the young kids, the victims, those that are being trafficked. We're trying to get them off the streets by using law enforcement and then go after the traffickers themselves. The other thing they did is that they decriminalized the purchase of individuals for sex, minors for sex. And so this bill, AB 379, would reverse all of that. It would make it a crime to loiter and solicit for sex, but it would also make it a felony to purchase young minors 16 and 17 years old
Carl, let me stop you there then. All right, so that makes perfect sense. To me, rubber stamp it, approved, move on to the next thing. But as I understand it, and please correct me if I'm wrong, your opposition or the people that are turning a blind eye to this are saying, well, what we don't want to do is criminalize the 16 and 17-year-olds. They are innocent, and by detaining them, as your words, we're pointing the finger of blame at them and not the human traffickers. You say to that.
Well, the first thing is they went ahead and did that. The Democrats we forced them to change the loitering law. So that's not what's in dispute here. What they're saying is that you should be able to buy a 16 and 17-year-old boy or girl for sex, full stop. That is what they have done. That is what they're saying. There are some extremists in the LGBT Democrat caucus who say that this is a normal part of gay lifestyle for adult males to buy youngish boys. This is offensive. And again, when the reporters were asking me, well, why are Democrats opposing trying to make it a crime to buy someone for sex? Because, they're always talking about slavery, selling people into, forced work. Well, this is selling someone, basically buying them for forced sex work. But it all has to do with the extremist faction of the LGBT Democrat caucus, and it's quite deviant, and I called it out. And we are putting the pressure on these Democrats to reverse course. We are going to try to get this bill back on the floor this week. We're going to do another reconsideration of the vote. And if I have to make the motion to have a vote on this bill every single damn week for the remainder of this year, I will do it, because this is insanity to allow 16 and 17-year-old girls and boys, minors, to be purchased for sex. We are the only state in the union where we allow children to be trafficked this way.
It's fascinating, the hills that the left will fight on. Quickly, the other side of this, a situation we know all too well here in San Diego, is the release of sexually violent predators after they've served their time into residential communities. Again, the argument is, hey, they've paid their debt to society. Why should they not be able to move back into neighborhoods? Again, it seems pretty obvious to me. What would you say?
That's AB 22, the bill that I authored. Democrats killed that bill for the reason that you just cited. But there's a difference with sexually violent predators. SVPs are not just sex offenders. These are people who are clinically diagnosed by experts to have a perversion, a mental illness, a compulsion, where they will reoffend. It's not if they will, but when they will. And so my proposal is, don't let them be released into a residential community. Make sure that they are under some sort of monitored environment, like a trailer in the parking lot on Donovan State Prison, or find a far off location where only the SVPs are placed, but far away from children's schools, parks, and residential communities. The other thing my bill would have done is prevented this latest crazy move, and that is the transient release of SVPs. In other words, judges have been releasing them without an address, which means you don't know where they are. They're literally out there as quasi-homeless people roaming the streets, and they can go into any neighborhood without proper tracking. My bill would have stopped that. Democrats killed that bill. They say sex offenders have rights too. And I say not after the heinous crimes they've committed. And if they're diagnosed to have a perversion and a high risk for reoffending, then they do have to be put in different places than residential communities. That's just to protect our children.
10 seconds, Carl. And I mean 10 seconds. These are not dead yet.
Oh, no. I'm not giving up without a real messy fight. If these Democrats want to protect criminals, particularly sex predators, I'm going to make it as messy as possible. I'm going to call the vote every single chance I can, because every time they vote against common sense to protect our children, they're sending a message to voters that they should be thrown out of office.
Carl DeMilo, everybody. Thank you for your time, sir. Have a safe day.
Thank you.
So as you can see, California's future is hanging by a thread. From corruption in Sacramento to dangerous bills that threaten our children's safety, the fight is far from over. We cannot afford to stay silent any longer. We need transparency. We need action. And most importantly, we need to protect what's left of this state. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I am Wolf Kage, and this was Wolf Kage Los Angeles. Until the next time, peace.